everybody, Dr. Eichelberry here. I am here today to share with you a set of procedures that I created for ourselves or for young people to help warm up their bodies. We're going to spend a little bit of time working on some gross motor movements meant to kind of get the heart pumping and get the blood flowing, and then we'll go through some other dynamic and static stretches, but all of them have been themed to help reinforce some critical lessons related to the integumentary system, so our skin, as well as health and hygiene. It's not a specific COVID-19 activity, but it doesn't mean that it couldn't be modified. I'm just using it as an example to show you how we can use physical movement to integrate academic content and other lessons that we think are important. Plus, we're having fun, we're moving, and we're getting ready for a different main set. So the first thing I'm going to do is give my students some procedures. I'll just use this space right here, and I would ask my students to do this either via distance or via time. So the first thing I'm going to ask them to do is visualize that they are in a beautiful field, and I'm going to have them skip through a field of dandelions. So we're just coming up. I'm just going to do this in place in my office. Certainly a student can do it in place, but I want to see that their knee is coming up, and I oftentimes encourage the opposite hand to go up. So we could emphasize the movement being up or forward. Either way, dandelions getting covered in pollen, seeds, whatever else is in the grass. The next thing I'm going to ask my students to do is to show me how to gallop. That's that heel to toe movement where our first leg leads, and our foot follows. So leading, follow, leading, follow. Kind of hard to do in place, but that's okay. I want you to imagine that we are galloping through a beautiful meadow. Done. Our last procedure is going to involve leaping, and that means that we're going to go from one foot or leg to the other. So I leap through a big puddle and into another big puddle and over here. But I'm always landing and using that dynamic balance to go from one leg to the next. So I got my students' heart pumping. Now I'm going to send them through a set of procedures that emphasize the importance of getting all that garbage off of us from our playing outside. So the first thing we're going to do is our windmill. We're going to take our feet opposite, wide. I'm going to use modeling language. So this is my right hand, but if I'm facing you, I'm going to say, we start with our left hand in the air, we bend at the waist, and we're going to go to the inside of the foot, extend back up, opposite foot, extend back up. And as we do this windmill, I want to remind you that we are emphasizing the importance of washing from our head all the way down to our toes. Got to scrub head to toe when we're taking a bath, of course. And I would probably have my students do about 10 or so of these. Our next set of procedures is a tricep reach. And oftentimes, because we all have different ranges of motion, I'm going to ask that you get a towel, a cloth, a rope, whatever, just in case you're not super flexible in the tricep. And what I'll have you do is just take that over so that one of our elbows is pointing up, and you can grab that and you can pull that tricep down. You can pull that tricep down. And I like to emphasize this movement because this is kind of a hard to reach place for a lot of us. Now I actually do have the shoulder flexibility to do this right now, but sometimes temporarily we don't, and for some people the opposite side can be really hard. So for about 15 seconds on either side, I'm going to be asking my students to stretch that tricep out or go ahead and scrub that hard to reach place. Okay, our next one doesn't require any prop at all, and that's a wrist roll up. So what I'm going to ask my students to do is to take one hand forward, take their palm, cross it over, wiggle those fingers together so we've got a nice like locked up finger, and I'm going to ask them to wrist roll. And so at this point you're getting a little tiny stretch in your shoulder, but also your elbows and your wrists. And my emphasis for this wrist roll is that it's really important for us to wash in between our toes and fingers to make sure that we get all the germs and grime taken care of. That's our wrist roll. I think it feels really good. And of course you can have this procedure done this way, or we can do it to the side. It's as dynamic as you want to make it. dynamic as you want to make it. Our next one's going to take us down to the floor, and I think that you'll be able to see me. I call this the roly-poly. So we're going to stay in a ball in a low position, and we're going to generate some friction, just like we would need to while we're washing different body parts or drying them off. So hopefully I'm still in the frame. I believe so. I'm just going to be a little round ball, and you can hold your knees or go underneath, whatever's more comfortable, and you can roll forward and backwards. Ooh, my fanny pack is digging into me. Or side to side. It's totally up to you. This is a nice little massage for your lower back, but we're trying to emphasize friction, friction. Our last one is going to be an arm or a leg raise. So depending on your ability level, maybe your mobility level, we'll be doing arm and leg raises to remind ourselves that drying off and getting some air across those body parts is important. A leg raise can be done standing, or we can perform it on the ground. And we're reminding ourselves that drying off and making sure that our skin is sufficiently dry will also help it heal and keep us protected from germs that are trying to get inside. All right, that's a wrap. Wash your hands.